So this old woman gets stopped by the police, and she says, "So what's the problem, officer?" And she said, "Well, ma'am, you were speeding quite a bit." And then he said, "Can I see your license?" She said, "Well, I'd like to give you one, but I don't have one." "What do you mean you don't have one?" "Well, I lost it 4 years ago for drunk driving." So, "Well, do you have your registration and documents?" Says, "Well, I can't do that either." He said, "Why not?" "Oh, because I stole this car." "You did what?" "Yeah, I stole this car, and I killed the owner, and he's in the trunk." It's like, what? And then so he gets scared, and he's a young officer, so he starts backing up from the car and puts his hand on his gun, and he calls in for backup. And within 5 minutes, the lady's car is just encircled by 5 other cars, and the senior officer gets out and with his hand on his gun and says, "Ma'am, would you please get out of the car?" And she gets out of the car. So, "Officer, what's the problem?" "Well, I was told you don't have a license and that you stole the car and killed the owner." Said, "I killed the owner?" Said, "Would you open the trunk, please?" And so she opens the trunk, and there's nothing there. And he said, "Ma'am, is this your car?" I said, "Yeah, it's my car. Here's my driver's license. Here's my registration." And so the officer checks it out. It all checks out. He looks in perplexed at the young officer, and he says, "Ma'am, I am so sorry. I was told by my officer you didn't have a license, you stole a car, and you murdered the owner." And the woman shook her head and said, "He probably lied and told you I was speeding too." All right. Woo. All right. Woo. Applause, a first time for everything on one of my jokes. So how many people here have ever told a lie? Anybody ever lie? And how many people would consider yourself an honest person? Okay. So to me, whether it is a student covering up for not doing their homework, the dog ate my homework or my computer crashed, or a husband trying to save the feelings of his wife when asked the question, "Honey, how does this dress look on me?" Or a politician saying, "I'll raise no taxes just to get elected," to someone denying or pointing the finger at someone else so they wouldn't get in trouble, to omitting a few things so that the sale would close, or making stuff up just to impress people that's just not true. Like, I went to Harvard. Michael Jordan and I are really good friends, and I invented the internet. I mean, in some way, shape, or form, every one of us lies. Do you know every single one of us learn to lie? And do you know the exact age range that we learn to lie? Between 2 and 4 years old. We learn to lie that early. It is at that point we begin to learn when we say certain things that we can get attention and we get liked and appreciated, or we can get in trouble. Or we could also use words to get ourselves out of trouble. I believe the first lie that we all tell is, "What happened?" "I don't know." "Who broke that?" "I didn't do it." Kids lie, and even lie about brushing their teeth, lie about cleaning their room, and they observe parents who lie, and then parents who engage them in lie. Like, "Don't tell your father that we did this. Don't tell your sister. Don't tell your mother." And as we get older, we get better at lying. We get better at bending the truth, better at omitting certain details. We make stuff up better, and we deny more consistently. This thing happens so routinely with us that we don't even realize we're doing it. It's just how things are. And we don't even think it does harm, because we say, "Oh, it's just a little white lie. Oh, it's just a slight exaggeration. Oh, just fudge the facts a little bit." It was almost the truth. There was a survey done of high school students, and they found that 64% of the high school students admitted that they cheated on a test. 30% admitted that they stole something from a store, and 83% said that they had lied to their parents about something significant and important. And yet 93% had no problem with their values. We get so accustomed to different forms of lying and justifying it. I had a woman recently say that her mom is elderly and they need to move to take care of her, but she's anxious about moving. So they lied to her and said, "Hey, we're going to go back to our hometown for just a visit, and then we'll come back," for her not to be as anxious. And at some level, you could feel the compassion behind it, but it's still a lie. And so we have grown accustomed to it so much that we at times don't even expect the truth. And to get something honest, we have to say, please be honest with me. Give me your honest opinion. I mean, that's how sometimes the lack of truth or some different flavor or version of it that gets watered down is that we have to ask for people to be honest because it isn't the natural default all the time. There's so many different ways that we lie and mislead and so on. There are actually categories and names of different types of lying. Deceitful lying, which is about lying about facts. Duplicitous lying, which is about lying about our nature of how we are. Delusional, demoralized lying. White lies, big lies, exaggeration, fabrication, pretending, omitting, denying. You know, we can argue about the different levels and names and how severe some versions of lying are, but the one thing we can't argue or debate about is that lying in some ways damages us and our relationships and diminishes our lives. Do you know what scientists have found to be the most damaging form of lie? It is lies of omission. When you withhold information you know that is important in a relationship, or information that someone should have that could be detrimental without doing it, that actually causes so much stress, anxiety, and it really affects us and our relationships in negative ways. Honesty doesn't sound as powerful, but it is absolutely powerful. It is healing, it is liberating, and it can really transform ourselves and one another in our relationships and our lives. Joseph Sugarman says, each time you are honest and conduct yourself with honesty, a success force will drive you towards greater success. Each time you lie, even a little white lie, there are strong forces that will push you towards failure. You know, some forms of lying and withholding are so conditioned in us that we have to relearn and practice and train and condition ourselves to be more honest. I bet every single one of us could use a little more honesty in all areas of our lives, both the big and the small areas. So this morning, we're going to look at three areas of working on our levels of honesty. And the first one is being honest with ourselves. William Shakespeare in the play Hamlet says, "This above all, to thine own self be true. And it must follow as the night the day that you cannot be false to anyone." Dostoevsky, the Russian novelist, put it this way. He said, "Above all else, don't lie to yourself." How many people have ever lied to yourself about something or didn't admit something? You know, I mean, it is amazing how often we won't even admit to ourselves that we're hurting, that we're struggling, that we're in pain or we're grieving or that we need help or that we have an anger issue or an alcohol issue or that we're not really happy in our lives or we're not doing the thing that we were really meant and born to do. And you know, sometimes we will get to a place where we will act like we're someone other than ourselves, thinking, acting, and speaking and behaving like someone other than ourselves will make us happy. Anybody see the movie 27 Dresses? I'm not recommending it, but but here was the general thing. I think Katherine Heigl is the actress. And so she was, 27 Dresses refers to the fact she was always a bridesmaid and never a bride. And so she likes her boss, Edward Burns, and he's really good looking and fabulous at everything, very successful. But the sister, who always got all the boys, meets her boss and then kind of starts falling for her because she begins to pretend that she's interested in what he's interested in. Like he's a vegan, and she's not, but she pretends. Or he's into fitness, she's not, but she pretends. He likes the environment and those types of things, and she pretends. So she gets him, and they're engaged, and everything's going well. And of course, she has become so distant from who she really is that, of course, and the relationship built on lies, and of course, it fell apart. And it's a sign for us that lying, one of the things it does, it disconnects us of ourselves. It disconnects and builds walls in relationships. You know, and so sometimes we just kind of want to check out of who we are and try and pretend to be someone else. And the truth is, if we want to learn to be more honest with ourselves, we need to check in, not check out. And what we need is consistent, quiet time for reflection, introspection, and contemplation, where we get as simple as asking ourselves a question: where in my life am I not being honest with myself? Or what in my life do I need to be more honest about, and literally just sit with it? To listen to our heart, to listen to our gut, to listen to our intuition, and maybe do a little writing or journaling on it, so that it can bring us to a level of acceptance and awareness of where we really are and what's really going on with us. Because sometimes just even asking ourselves a question is, where in my life am I hurting? Or what in me needs a little more attention? What in me is feeling lost or needs some healing? And these are important things for us to get to know who we are by finding out where we are and what's really going on within ourselves. Some regular amount of inner time of reflection and contemplation is a vital and important thing, because eventually it'll bring a sense of peace, it'll bring a sense of clarity, a level of self-awareness, and we become more comfortable in our own skin because we know ourselves better, and give us a level of self-confidence. And what it does, it begins as we're more honest with ourselves. It brings us a way of saying no to things that are not honoring who we are, and we begin to gravitate to things that are in alignment with who we really are. Read an interesting article about the power of affirmations and how affirmations aren't always helpful to everyone. So let's do a couple affirmations. Just repeat after me. I am fit and healthy. Together. I am fit and healthy. I radiate positive energy. Together. I radiate positive energy. I am a money magnet. I am a money magnet. I am successful beyond my wildest dreams. I am successful beyond my wildest dreams. Affirmations are great. They make us feel good. They raise our vibration. But one of the things a Canadian researcher from Waterloo University, which I actually went to, says that in some cases, repeating certain affirmations to ourselves when we are hurting and unhealthy things have been buried in us will actually hurt us in the long run and not help us. And it's not saying that affirmations aren't helpful. It is saying you can't use affirmations to distract when there's grieving or hurt or pain that's going on in ourselves. That those things need to be trained. And how do we do that? Being honest with ourselves. By saying that I am struggling, that things aren't going as well at the moment, and looking at what we need to heal or accept or what we need to work on. And still doing affirmations is fine, but affirmations cannot cover everything. One of the first steps of improving the quality of our lives in any way is learning to be more honest with ourselves and find out where we really are and what's going on and what our needs and desires are. Because sometimes when we're disconnected from ourselves, we don't even know what's going on and what it is that we really want. Step one, be honest with ourselves. Second one is to be honest with others. How many people have ever lied or held back something from somebody really close to you that you know you shouldn't have done that? Anybody? And how many have ever held on to it long that it festered and was causing you angst and pain and frustration? Anybody ever let it fester? One thing about human relationships, them and of themselves is hard. It takes work to be in any kind of relationship, whether it is partners or parent-child or friends, neighbors, work. It takes work. And it can be a little bit scary because sometimes being honest can be terrifying because we think the person might get mad or they might reject us or dislike us or that they might get hurt, that they might judge us. There are all kinds of scenarios that can be terrifying of wanting to share something deep about, with somebody that we're really, really close to. And so we need to begin to learn how to be more honest, particularly in our closest relationships. Because if we're better in our closest relationship, we will get better in all the other relationships. So my brother Brian, he and his wife, Kathleen, have 6 children. And we were raised in a house where it was not loving to be contrary or oppositional or to question. Love meant we all agree in, and no questioning. That's the kind of family I got. Maybe some other people grew up in that kind of thing. Well, Brian, recognizing that of himself, and then in the early years of his family, decided to implement something that he saw on Star Trek that would be helpful. And it was that thing where you ever heard them say, permission to speak freely? And so it's when a superior officer is approached by an inferior one, and they want to say something, and usually it's to question, but you can't do that because there would be punishment and repercussions. And so they use that same thing to say, okay, when they would say permission to speak freely, it meant it was an awareness of the person asking, that it was safe to say what your opinion was and to be heard. And for the other person realizing it's hard for both of them. And it was a way to assist and support and find a mechanism and framework to help them be more honest with each other, to help them be more willing to listen to one another. And my brother said, the kids would do it. Permission to speak freely, Dad. Permission to speak freely. And he said what he found was they communicated better. Things festered way, way less. There was more open communication, and they became a healthier and closer family, able to express all the different opinions without everyone getting upset and frustrated. So what I'd recommend for all of us, particularly in our closest relationships, is develop some mechanism or a safe word or permission to speak freely, which acknowledges, look, this is hard. And we both need to be supportive. And I would say permission to speak freely gives both parties an awareness of it, as compared to we really need to have a serious talk. Kind of puts a little bit of, you can feel the tension, and particularly on one side than the other, but both, you know what I'm saying? So it's about consciously making a choice of giving a mechanism that will be supportive and helpful to both, acknowledging it's tough, it's not easy sharing these things, but it's to help each other be more honest with each other. And so here are some things. And the thing about being honest, we always think it's the bad stuff. No, maybe being honest is saying, I really love you. And I appreciate you so much, even though I don't always say it. Maybe it's, I'm so sorry for what I said or did. Or maybe it's, this is something I really need that has been going on inside of me for a long, long time. It has nothing to do with my love for you, but this is what I'm needing. Honesty is not a bad thing. It actually is a hugely important and liberating thing that can actually bring us closest together. As we practice being more honest, 3 things happen. We build up trust. We build up our own character and integrity of knowing that as we speak honestly and truthfully in our relationship and all areas of our lives, is that we do feel a little more aligned and integrous and a stronger level of character. And the third one it helps us with is creating real love. Because if we're lying and withholding things, it means the person really isn't loving all of us. They're loving the ideas and the images that we're sending out there, which isn't the truth. It's a whole Greg Bear thing about real love. It's really about being honest, sharing what's really going on so we could really feel true intimacy and connection. So here are some things I think about honesty for us to understand. Number 1, honesty does not mean you go dump your stuff on people and tell them how bad they are. That is not honesty. Honesty does not mean you tell everyone all your business and all the details of your life. Boundaries are a good and important thing. And you do not have to share your personal, private, intimate experience, situations with everyone. How many people ever had someone share so many details you had to think, TMI, TMI? You don't need to share every single detail to call yourself honest. You don't need to be Forrest Gump on the bench telling every stranger what's up. That is not honesty. More details does not mean more honesty. It means being appropriate with the information with the people you need to be appropriate with. Third one is honesty also means you need to honor the confidential things. Honesty doesn't give you a free license to just start sharing people's stuff when you know it's confidential information. Another one is that it's important to share it directly with that person. Not getting a go-between or a spokesperson, but it's about heart-to-heart, honest communication. Not easy stuff, but it's important that we do that. And then the other one is how much information we share. This is kind of an extension of the last thing. How much information we share depends on two things: the nature of the relationship and our comfort level. The level of sharing with a boss that is honest is different than the level of sharing of a partner about on honesty, or children. That level of honesty is a different level of honesty as with friends. And we need to figure out how much information we are comfortable sharing, because honesty isn't just about sharing everything. So this morning I shared that with my foot, I have a little, I got a little owie or whatever it was, and it's a bit frustrating and it's not serious. So that was the information I shared. I could have shared the story that I went and I had a podiatrist appointment. Everything was just fine. My podiatrist said, let me just shave that down a little bit. And with a scalpel, he slipped and I got a gash in my foot. And so I was not happy, to say the least, because I can't put a tight shoe on, when there's a cut. Now, I didn't need to share that information. So, the point I'm trying to make is like, how much honesty is honesty? And you have to figure out your own comfort level of how much, because they were both honest answers. One had more detail, and we all need to find what our own level of comfort is in sharing with honesty. And again, last thing I want to emphasize is that being honest is about sharing the appropriate, important things with the right people, not saying everything to everyone. And so it's not easy to communicate and be a relationship, but we can learn with little things like permission to speak freely, how to communicate with the most important people and learn from there. And understand that it builds trust every time we do it. It builds our character and integrity every time we do it. And it builds real love every time we do it. It's vital and important. Life is about relationship. It is about love. And one of the most important things about love is to learn how to be honest. And then the last one I called, honest to ourselves, honest to others, and the last one I called honest to God. So in the book of Jeremiah it says, if you seek me, you will find me, if you seek me with all your heart. And so to me, in some ways, that says if you seek me honestly, if your whole heart, the only qualification it says to pray and to connect with God is with a sincere heart. That we honestly, sincerely want to experience God. That's how we feel whole. That's how we feel connected. That's how we feel centered and grounded and aligned spiritually, by just seeking God with all of our heart, seeking God sincerely. And when we seek God sincerely, you know what we feel the most of? It is love. When we feel God's love. And the reason we lie is out of fear. Fear of getting in trouble, fear we'll get rejected, fear all these kind of different things. And what's the opposite of fear? Thank God, the first service, they had no idea. Not one answer. I'm not saying you're smarter than them. I'm just saying. And so when there is more love in our heart, we don't feel we need to lie. Sometimes we think we need to lie to protect ourselves, but it really builds a wall. It really creates distrust and separation. But the more we are honest to God, the more we're honest and feel connected to God and feel that love, the need and desire to lie to protect ourselves goes away less and less, because we know we're loved. We know we're loved. Remember that video we used to show of Maya Angelou? And the thing that changed her life was just 3 words: God loves me, God loves me, God loves me. Of letting that be a mantra, no matter what happens, God loves me. No matter how I mess up, God loves me. God loves me. God loves me. That even when I'm struggling, God loves me. Even when I'm not at my best, God loves me. Even when I mess up, God loves me. Even when I let fear control my life, God loves me. Jesus said, you will know the truth and the truth will set you free. And that truth is, God loves you. No matter what, God loves you. Honest to God. Honesty is far more powerful and transformational and an important spiritual practice than we realize. It is profoundly liberating, it is profoundly healing, and can change and transform us, our relationships, and our entire lives. And 3 things we need to do is to work on being honest with ourselves, to go and check in with ourselves and ask ourselves, where in my life am I not being honest, or what's really going on with me? What is in me needs healing or needs my attention? And second is to be honest with others. Find some framework that'll help you in your closest relationship, like permission to speak freely, to be honest with each other, and knowing as you do it, you build trust, you build character, and you build real love. And the finest, honest to God, is about seeking God with all your heart. And the more we're filled with love, the fear dissipates, and the need and desire to think we need to lie to protect ourselves goes away, because we know we are loved. You know, if we want a deeper experience of love, if we want to have greater inner peace and get on the path to freedom, happiness, and successful living, please be honest. God bless you all.